What's going on, everybody? Spaceballs here. Welcome back to another Awakening Chaos Era video. Alright, everyone, today we're going to talk about gear, finally. A lot of you guys have been asking me about gear. Should you sell it? What should you do with it? Where should you farm it? So we're going to sum it all up here today. So let's get right into this one and let's talk about our gear, or your gear, my gear. You know what I'm talking about. So the first thing I want to talk about is the sell button on the bottom. Don't ever do this. Awakening has one of the best gear systems I've ever seen. They give us gem enhancements that we can farm, buy, whatever you want to do. But you can also use your gear to enhance your current gear that you're using. So selling the gear just doesn't make sense. Even if you're late game, I still don't recommend you selling gear, honestly. Because the thing is, you always are going to need to level up some type of gear. Unless every single champion you have is in 6-star, maxed out gear, then that's the only way you'd be selling it. So don't ever touch the sell button. There's no reason to sell gear early to mid game, even late game. Where we all are, just don't be selling gear. It's not a good idea. Now, with that being said, you want to use your gear to enhance your other gear. So, for example, we click on enhance. This will pull up all the bodies. Now, the way this game works is if you have a body, you can only use other body pieces to level up this piece. There is enhancement gems that you can use on all gear, and then there's ones that are specific to each gear item. I believe this purple one we have is just to the body pieces, and then etc. It goes like that for all the other pieces as well. Early game, when you're just farming gear, you can get use out of some of these green pieces, blue pieces. It really just depends on what you have on your account. I would not go too crazy upgrading green and blue 4-star pieces. 5-star blue gear is actually not bad, especially if you get really good substats. So if you have a body that's 5-star and it's blue and it has crit rate and attack, that's actually a decent piece of gear. Summoner's War, most of my good gear was blue gear. I don't think that's necessarily going to be the case in this game because it's actually a lot easier to farm gear in Awakening. But it's really going to come down to what sets you're looking for, what sets you need. Now, I will tell you guys this. Mythic Campaign 1 drops attack sets, Mythic Campaign 2 drops HP sets, and Mythic Campaign 3 drops speed sets. So if you're looking for those 3 sets, which I think those are the 3 main sets you should be farming early game, in my opinion, they're the best sets in the game for early game going into mid to late game, and then you can start farming those other interesting sets like the stun set and stuff like that. But I think early game, all you really need is speed, HP, and attack. You can use a crit rate set, but I don't like the fact that it's only 20% for 4 pieces. I would much rather get 30% attack on 4 pieces than get the 20% crit rate, because you could just get the crit rate in substats or use a crit rate ring. So my personal opinion, I don't like crit rate sets. They do give you some for free, and you could use those no problem, and then just not use a crit rate ring or whatever it is early game. You do want to have 85 to 95% crit rate on your attackers, then you could stack attack on crit damage, all that great stuff. But I don't recommend using a crit rate set unless it's a free set. I wouldn't upgrade it unless I have a 6-star piece. That's fantastic. Otherwise, I'm just using attack on my damage dealers, speed on my DPS, fast damage dealers, and then HP sets on my support, and then speed sets on my supports as well. So a lot of this blue gear will eventually get sold for me when I start farming 6-star gear. But for example, like attack and crit damage, if the 3rd stat rolls crit rate, this would actually be a really good blue piece of gear. And I could definitely get use out of it, and I'm sure a lot of you guys could too. But outside of 5-star blue gear, I'd say all the green gear, and then anything below that, you can feed it into your other gear to upgrade it. I wouldn't upgrade too much of it. Now, when it comes to boots, ring, and necklace, that's a little bit different. So the first thing I want to say about boots, ring, and necklace is you want attack percentages across the board. You don't want to go with flat stats. So let me show you an example. Except speed, you always want speed on your boots for most of your characters. Not so much in this game as other games, but if you're building like a Wintrex, for example, you want speed. Most of the time, unless you're building a straight DPS, you're usually going to go with speed on the boots, especially for supports and stuff like that. But if we look at these current warrior boots, these are an instant gear enhancement. So we're going to feed these into another set of boots like attack percentage. So basically these boots would go into these speed boots, because we're never going to use these because they're flat HP. We don't want flat HP on our boots. We want attack percentage, HP percentage, defense percentage, whatever we're building, that's the percentage we want. So as far as boots go, you're looking for HP percentage, defense percentage, only in some cases defense percentage, but if you're building a defensive unit, you can use defense boots to make up that extra defense. As far as the rings go, you're going to be looking for the same thing, except you can get crit rate and crit damage. So when you're building a DPS unit, you're going to be looking for crit rate and crit damage or attack. If you're building a support, HP and defense again. And the same thing's going to go for your necklace. I don't know if you can get crit rate on the necklace, but people in Twitch chat were telling me that you can get a necklace with crit damage. I haven't seen it yet myself, so I don't think that's the case. I mostly go with attack on my necklace, and then I go with crit rate or crit damage on my ring when I'm building a DPS unit. And then if I'm building something like a Blackhorn, I'll go with HP or defense. The point is, on the bottom row, we're always looking for a percentage stat unless it's speed on the boots, and then we're looking for flat speed. I'm not going to upgrade it, but just to show you. Let's say I want to feed gear to it and I have a bunch of 4-star gear that I don't want, green gear or common gear. If you click and hold on a 4-star piece of gear, or 5 or 6, whatever it is, if you click and hold, it will highlight all of those pieces of gear that are 4-star and common for whatever one you click and hold on. So again, if I click on the 4-star blue gear, it'll do the same thing. Same thing with the 4-star purple gear, going all the way down the list, and this works for all the gear. The only bad thing I'm noticing about this gear system, or the one thing that sticks out the most, is that you can't take a set of gear and switch it from one character to another. So I can't take my Lydia's gear and put it on my Hydrissa. I have to pull it off my Lydia and then one by one put it onto my Hydrissa. It's kind of annoying. It's not the worst thing in the world, but something I hope they address in the future. It's the same thing with upgrading 3 stars to 4 stars. They have a great promote system, but you can't take 3 stars to 4 stars. It's kind of stupid. And this is the same thing where it's a great system, but it's just not all the way there where it should be all the way there because it has the technology to be there. Before we get into the next part of this, I want to show you what I'm talking about switching sets. So if we click on manage gear, this will allow you to basically manage any character's gear. Instead of going from your gear box from the backpack, you could just go in the same way this way. And this gives you a lot more options where you can just look at rings, boots, weapons, etc, etc. But this does not allow you to swap a build onto a different character. You can swap your current build, but you can't actually take this onto another character. And that's like the worst part for me. This will allow you to see what sets you have on the character and exactly what substats you're getting from the gear as you build up your set. So basically, if you have a second build, and let's just say I put this up there, you'll see it goes under swap build, and I'll be able to see what stats I'm gaining or what stats I'm losing. So this allows you to swap new gear and make sure that you're getting more stats than your current gear. This way, you're not going backwards, you're going forwards. Basically allows you to separate or look at any piece of gear that you want. You just can't swap gear from one character to another. Anytime I'm switching my character's gear, I always go to this page instead of just taking it off one at a time. Unless I'm just going to clear all the gear off the character and then go put it on a different character. But if I'm actually trying to switch my gear over to new gear, I always do it this way to make sure that I'm getting more stats than I currently have on my gear. It's just the way I like to do it to make sure I'm not losing stats. Because if I'm losing stats, then there's really no point in changing the gear. That's kind of the way I look at it. Unless I'm getting specific sets out of it or switching from 3-star to 5-star. And if that is the case, you should have more stats somewhere down the line. You can separate your gear by the main stat, the first and second secondary stat. So there is a really good system here in place. Really allows you to break your gear down and not have to fish through it to find the gear that you're looking for. If you have a ton of gear, you don't have to like fish through it. And this game does allow you to remove the gear for free. That's why I wish they had the hero swap feature in there. Because the fact that you don't have to pay, we don't need rune removal tickets and all that stuff, it would be a great feature to be able to switch this over to my Hydrissa and then back and forth depending on what content I'm clearing at the time. So really good, great system overall. So let's get back into talking about gear itself. So here's my King Lizard to give you guys an example. On the boots, we have attack percentage because he is a damage dealer. We want him doing as much damage as possible. Now, the one thing about this current gear is I couldn't really be too picky and choosy with the substats because this gear was free, so I just threw it on my Zatlocks. Eventually, when I'm farming gear, I'm going to look for better substats. So I want attack percentage, I want speed, I want crit rate and crit damage on the substats. Having defense, health, and speed is not what I want on my Zatlocks. But again, when you're early game, you kind of have to take what you get for the most part, especially when it's attack percentage on boots, because it is hard sometimes to get attack percentage boots or just a certain percentage on the bottom 3 pieces of gear. Sometimes it's a little tough, so you have to take what you can get, and this is a case of that. And then we'll look for the ring, we have attack, and then on the necklace, we also have attack. Now, my thing with Zatlocks is his crit rate's a little bit low. I'm not done with his glyphs yet, so I believe once I finish his glyphs, I will be able to get him around 60 to 70%. So if we go and click on these stats, we'll see we're at 43% crit rate. I want this to be at like 75, 85%. So most likely what I'm going to do in the future when I get a better ring. And the fact that we have 6 pieces of gear here, we're not using a second set is kind of stupid as well. But again, this is just the gear I had, and it was the best gear I had for him, so I just threw it on him. Basically what I'll do in the future is I'll drop this ring for crit damage or crit rate, depending on how much I can get in substats. And then for the ring, I'll leave it attack. But I'll probably end up putting a warrior set on him so I can raise attack even more when I switch this ring out to crit rate, so I'm not losing too much attack in between. I'll get the extra 15% from the warrior set. So you're always trying to justify whatever piece of gear that you're using. And then the weapon's always going to be attack, the helmet's always going to be HP, and the body's always going to be defense. The top row is always going to come down to substats. You're always looking for the specific stats that you want on the character. So for this one, for example, it's DPS. We want crit rate, crit damage, speed, and attack. Those are the main substats that we're looking for. Obviously, health isn't a bad thing because we do want him to be a little bit beefy, so this way he's not a glass cannon. Let's move over to our Hydrissa because this is a better example. This is all warrior set, so this is all attack we're getting from her set. And we still have 55% crit rate just from the gear. So if we click on info, we'll see that she is at 69% crit rate. Once I max out this ring, she'll be closer to where I want her in crit rate. But for an early game set, this is actually really, really good. The speed is a little bit low. I usually like to have at least 20 or 30 speed on all my damage dealers, whether they're glass cannons. I still like to have some speed. Otherwise, the enemy in PvE or PvE, they'll outspeed you and then basically smash you because you're a glass cannon and you have no HP. You're just built with all attack. But overall, for Hydrissa, these are actually really, really good stats, and the gear itself is not too bad. If we look at the boots, we'll have attack percentage again. We got crit rate, attack speed, and defense. The defense is the only bad substat on these boots. The crit rate, attack, and speed are perfect, exactly what we're looking for when we're building a glass cannon or a farmer, whatever you want to call it. Same thing, we got crit rate, then we have crit damage, attack, health, and resistance. The attack and crit damage is basically what we want. Health is never a bad thing, and resistance we don't really care about on a damage dealer. And then same thing on the chain, we have attack, crit rate, attack, and then defense and resistance, but we do have 2 out of the 4 substats that we want. Having attack percentage and then flat attack is actually really good, just giving you more boosted attack. And you'll see the same thing with the body, crit rate, attack, health, and agility. Again, not the best rolls, but this gear is definitely the best gear we're going to get early on. And then for the helmet, same thing, attack, crit rate, defense, and resistance. Basically, all the stats on this gear is the exact same. And then on the weapon, we have crit rate, attack. We got 2 rolls into attack, 70% attack. That's actually a really, really good weapon. We're getting attack from the base, and we're getting attack percentage from the substat. This is actually a perfect situation when you're building up your damage. You're like getting 2 rolls into a substat that you want. The focus we don't really care about, but she does have an AoE speed down, so we don't mind the focus at all. Even the precision we don't mind because it's Hydrissa and she does have the AoE speed break. So when you're building your first couple characters or your damage dealers, this is what you're looking for. Basically trying to push every stat as much as you can. There's going to be a point where you're getting so much gear coming in when you're farming the rune dungeons or just Mythic campaign in general. Mythic campaign drops some of the best gear that I have currently. It is epic gear, but I believe once you get to the later stages of Mythic, it does drop legendary as well. But you're going to get to a point where there's so much gear coming in. If the gear is not better than your current gear, get rid of it. Use it to enhance your good gear. Don't build a ton of crappy gear. Basically, the way I look at gear now is I have my main team built. If it's not better than the gear on my main teams, I just get rid of it. I use it for enhancing the gear that I currently have already. There's no point in keeping it, guys. Just get rid of it. Don't sell it. You know what I mean? When I say sell it, I mean enhance it. Never sell. I told you that at the beginning of the video. But don't try upgrading it. You won't get use out of it. Down the line, you will pick up better gear somewhere. Whether it's in a late game rune dungeon, late game mythic campaign, you will get better gear, so there's no point in upgrading a ton of crappy gear. If I scroll through my characters, you guys will see that a lot of this gear is pretty much crap. And what I'm doing is as I get the better gear, I'm getting rid of this gear, using it to enhance my new gear. So I'm switching out the old purple 3-star gear and bringing in the new 5-star purple gear. And then I'll use all of this gear as food. The only reason I even leveled up this 3-star gear is because it was early game and I didn't have any other options at the time. You have to start somewhere, just remember that. You always have to start leveling up some piece of crap gear to get to your good gear. That's just the way these games are. But for example, this was my first set of speed boots and it's on blue gear. And for Windtrex, these are actually really good boots. We got health, we got attack, we got focus, and we got agility. We need all of these stats on Windtrex basically because she does have a speed break, so focus is good on her. And we definitely want some agility and health and attack. So paired with the speed for a blue set of boots, these are perfect. So this is the kind of gear you want to invest in. And then basically when you get 5-star gear, you could just use this gear to upgrade that new 5-star gear or 6-star gear that you get. Or better gear in general, you'd use this gear to upgrade the new gear. Just don't sell it. Don't make that mistake. Somebody told me that day on stream, oh, I've been selling all my gear. Don't sell your gear. That's the biggest mistake you can make in this game currently. Use it to upgrade your new gear. Do not, I repeat, do not sell your gear, guys. I cannot say it enough in this video. And then we'll see again, we're using a green ring. At the time, I didn't have anything better that had health percentage. So I used a green one with focus and defense. And then in the future, I'll feed this into my new piece of gear when I switch it out. I think at this point, I could switch most of my green gear out because I've been farming Mythic like a crazy man. I just want to show you guys that you can use green gear as a place filler. I just wouldn't recommend using 4-star or 3-star green gear. Just make sure it's 5-star gear because it is really easy to farm 5-star gear in this game. They make it really easy to get early game gear until you get into the rune dungeons. Because basically going into the rune dungeons, you want to have all your characters in 5-star purple and blue gear. And then you'll know it's time to go into those rune dungeons and start farming your 6-star legendary gear or even 5-star legendary gear. But you definitely want your main teams to be in 5-star purple or blue gear all leveled up to 12. That's going to make life so much easier for you. And the last one we're going to look at is Azrena. She was in all green gear, and I just recently switched all of her gear from me farming Mythic campaign stage 1, 2, and 3. I was able to get her in all 5-star purple gear, so this is a perfect example. It all has decent substats for what I want on my Azrena because I want her to have really high attack, speed, focus, and health. And if we look at all the pieces of gear, they're basically spot on for the most part. I really picked and choose the purple gear that I wanted. I'm just going to click on each one so you can see them. The only thing I don't like is this crit damage ring. I want to change this to attack percentage because her ignites do scale off attack. So it is a mistake to put crit damage on Azraina. She does do good overall damage though. So if you do get enough attack, then you could justify it. But you do need crit rate to back up the crit damage. I think this was the only HP ring I had. So I basically had no choice but to put it on her. But in the future, I'm definitely going to drop this for attack. And then again, we're back using green boots for attack percentage. These are terrible garbage. But once I get a purple set, I will take these off and feed it into the purple set. And Natalia, the same thing. I'm just bringing my gear from Mythic Campaign and putting it on her, taking off the crap gear and putting on new gear. Again, with this green helmet, it's just filling the set. It has crit damage on it, but I will not upgrade this or anything like that. The only reason this is on Natalia right now is just to complete the warrior set. The second I get a better piece of gear, it's coming right off of her. It's just being used as a placeholder. Then I'll use it as food. So I think that sums it up as far as gear goes. The most important thing to take from this is don't sell your gear. Use it to upgrade your new gear. If you take anything out of this video, take that from it. If you guys have anything to add to this or I missed anything, like always, please comment down below. I'd love to hear what you guys have to say. Thank you guys so much for the support here on YouTube. The sub celebration is going on. I'll be picking the winners this week, so it's your last chance to join the sub celebration. And that is always linked down below with my Twitch and my Discord. We do 2 monthly giveaways on Discord, random giveaways on Twitch. If you want to be a part of the random giveaway that we do here on YouTube, all you do is sub to the channel, like and comment on my past 10 videos, and I will automatically enter you to the random giveaway. I truly do love each and every single one of you. I will see you in the next one. Spaceballs out. Peace.